Hey, Mark Danaher, life leader and executive coach. I want to talk to you about 3 things today that are going to help you up your leadership skills, especially when you're dealing with employees who you're not 100% happy with. So I'm going to share a story. Recently, my daughter was let go from one of her jobs. And what basically happened is that she had 3 incidents over the course of 6 months. One where she had gotten coverage and gotten the text saying, yes, I will cover for you. Taking care of it, no problem. That person had then switched with someone else. So she was left without coverage. The employer believed the other girl, not my daughter, yet she still had texts, and the manager did not want to see those texts. The second one was always told, give us time if you can't find coverage so that we can. And so she had given, 5 days, couldn't find coverage for an hour. But the opportunity is that her brother was in a state championship. You don't get many of those. So she was trying to be there just to watch the game and then get back. She was able to arrange that and then even worked extra to make sure she was covered. And then the third one, she had told the employer before she was hired that she would not be able to be around for a certain weekend. And given her the date, so it should be on the employer's plate. In the end, what happened was the employer didn't remember that, didn't mark it down. My daughter had tried to get coverage, couldn't find anybody. So in the end, she told the employer, now they always said, give you time. So she gave her, I think, 5 days to find somebody to replace her. 5 days seems reasonable. So the employer wasn't happy, couldn't find anybody, had texted my daughter something in the fact that if this happens again, you're gonna have to be let go. Well, she texts her that, then she calls her and says, well, can you get your coverage for this Saturday? And she said, no. And she says, well, you're fired. So here's the lesson I want aspiring leaders and managers to understand. If you're a one-man show, a small business, great. But you have to lay out clear communication and have understanding of what is ample time. 5 days is ample time. Not fully investigating a story when somebody says, I have the texts that say X, Y, and Z, not appropriate. You need to really believe your employees and ask them for evidence if they say they had gotten coverage. The other part is use technology. There are so many ways to cover shifts, but then you know exactly who's on when. And this was so loosey-goosey, call, you tell them, and then there was no commitment because somebody could easily back out, which had happened. And my daughter had taken her own responsibility in this. And so, but the other part is, if you're going to fire someone, CYA, cover your butt, right? I get it. The text is to cover your butt to say, no, I gave them a warning. But then 10, 15, 20 minutes later, I call them and said, well, can you cover? No. So clear communications, exactly what you can and can't do, is an important part. The other part is employees support what they create. People support what they create. So if you're building an attendance policy, you're building an engagement policy, involve your workers. I know the workers at this one place had tried many times to adjust a couple of different things, and it was no. And the other part is acknowledge your workers. So my daughter had reached out to this employer saying, here, I just want to lay out and stick up for myself because she did not have that opportunity. No response. Look, acknowledge. You don't have to like it, but acknowledge. Right? You got a 17-year-old kid taking an opportunity to say, you know what? Hey, I didn't do well. I know part of it was mine, but part of it was this. Here's what I laid out. So there has to be equal responsibility. So as a leader, think about your communication. Think about your lifestyle. Now look, if you work in a bigger company, you got HR and they're going to lay out those pieces, but make sure you know what they are. That's an important part. Make sure your employees know what they are. All right. The other part I want you to think about when you're working with people is the more communication and clearer communication is important. Don't assume. Connect in, engage, make sure that you're talking to them so that they feel like they are part of the team. I know in this one organization that she was in, they never heard anything. Like, there were things out there like, oh, wait, you're not supposed to be doing X, Y, and Z. Well, they didn't know that. So somebody would ask them saying, oh, and then, no, I'm not supposed to hear that. So there wasn't clear communication. There wasn't good management in terms of making sure. So all these little things that you can do make a huge difference in the way that employees respond to you. If you're going to be a leader, lead, right? You want to make sure that you're engaged, that you're connected to your employees, that you value and listen to your employees. That's the huge lesson I want you to think out of this. My daughter stood up for herself. She did a great job. No ill will. She did what she needed to. And you know what? In the long run, she's going to be a lot better off. But I want you to think about, if you're going into leadership and management, think about how you connect with your group, how you connect with your employees, how you communicate. It's a huge game changer that if you communicate clearly, you let them know the rules, you let them also have some input sometimes into those rules and help them create that environment, they're going to support that and you are going to thrive and they're going to thrive. So listen, reach out, have a great day. I will talk to you soon. Take care.